So here we go again, our Tuesday Synaplex. And as usual, I will put up, actually, to plug next week's session would be appropriate for you to do it, David, because I think you're the host there.
Well, okay. Next week we have a lesson. We have a lecture from an archaeologist who spent a lot of time digging holes in the Near East, and is going to tell us about what's been found in Jerusalem coming from biblical times. I've heard him before. He's a great lecturer, and it'll be it's a really interesting lecture, and we'll hear it. Pardon me, this time next Tuesday night. But now we will hear from Mayor Bester, longtime pillar of Darchei Noam, and a very wise man who's going to explain Gematria to us.
Okay, very good. So I made you introduce me at the end.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to talk about Gematria. This is not to be taken too seriously, although some people are taking it very seriously. I have learned a lot about Gematria over the last year or two because I just decided to look into it, but I realize that I'm only scratching the surface. So if you think that at the end of this session you will be Gematria experts, then you won't. But you will know enough about it to know if it's interesting and you want to dig some more. And if you do, then it's a very large pit to be dug. Let me see if I've got my get to page 1. That would be nice. Okay, so what is Gematria? Gematria is I'm going to just read from Wikipedia or something. It's an alphanumeric code assigning a numerical value to a name, word, or phrase based on its letters, and to draw some conclusion from the resulting numbers. Okay. So you take a name and you say, well, this name is equal to 312. What can you learn from 312? Maybe find another word that's worth 312. Oh, these two words have the same number, therefore something. Gematria is very old. It was not invented last year. It originated in the Babylonian and Greek times, and was later adopted by Jewish culture. What does Gematria mean? Where does the name come from? It's not that clear for a name that is so old. There are two theories that I'm not sure which one I like better or which one is the right one, if either is. Gematria has to do with numbers, so the idea that some say it comes from the word geometry, which is basically measurement of the earth, geometric. And so, yes, since we are measuring things, so it's Gematria. And that's what I always thought, but I came across another possible, what do they call it, etymology. Gamma is the third letter in the Greek alphabet, and 3 in Greek is tria. So gamma tria, saying 3 is for gamma. I don't know. Sounds good to me. It's not relevant to our discussion, but this is interesting to know where it came from. So, by the way, if the way that I would like to handle comments or questions, this session is divided into 3 or 4 sections. I'll stop at the end of each section, and if anybody has something to say or to ask, then there'll be an opportunity to do that. And if you could raise your hands, I hope that by now you know how to do that. Then our host, who is going to be monitoring it, David, will call on you. Okay. So the session is divided into a number of topics, and okay, I said that already. Any questions so far? Okay. So we're going to just go straight to the Jewish Gematria. I have no idea how it's used in other cultures and other languages. So in Jewish Gematria, I'm going to split it into four categories. One is Gematria has been used since in the Mishnah times as a method for examining and shedding more light on Torah words and phrases. You look at a number equivalent to the word for clues to give you a hidden meaning or message. And while some rabbis put a lot of trust and weight on those numbers, most rabbis don't view it very seriously. It's kind of a nice fluffy addition, but it's not halakha. No halakha was ever, as far as I know, determined by the use of gematria. Just kind of a nice add-on, something to think about. But some people like it a lot. As a matter of fact, a little digression. I just came across a booklet yesterday by Miriam's grandfather, who was a rabbi in Poland. And I knew the existence of this little binder for a long time, but never paid attention to it. And apparently he was into gematria a lot. And I started to read it, and it's just amazing. He's got stuff there that you wouldn't believe, but I didn't have a chance to even read 3 or 4 pages. It's in handwriting. It's about 100 years old. And for example, he says that chazak, the total of 3 chazaks is Moshe. I checked it and it's true. And he's got all kinds of things like that. And maybe it'll be another session to talk about that particular booklet. But so the first thing is in Talmudic times, people were interpreting the Torah and looking at gematria to kind of help them draw additional insight. Basically, they had the insight, and they looked for ways to prove it with the numbers. The second group of gematria users are the Cabalists. And they were somewhere, I don't know, 14th, 15th century, and they're crazy. Sorry, it was not politically correct. They use Kabbalah very seriously to determine the origin of the world and how God works, and I don't understand what they're doing, and we're not going to go there. But they take it. They think that gematria is like the world rests on those numbers. 7 is particularly important. And this is the end that I'm going to say, and don't ask any questions about it because I know nothing, okay? But I know that group exists. Now we get further along in the centuries to the medieval times and later, rabbis and scholars and entertainers began to use gematria as a way to do a drash and to have some fun. Actually, I've been to many bar mitzvahs or weddings where somebody gets up and makes a speech and says, this kid's name is Yosef, and Yosef is, 312, and 312 means that, and you can do a whole shtick with such numbers. And there are other things that also work in kind of a light-hearted way. And finally, everyday use. We today, sometimes we are conscious of it and sometimes not. We use gematria. We substitute letters for numbers, numbers for letters. For example, do you know what holiday we're celebrating today? It's called Lag BaOmer. What does Lag mean? You carry the Omer, lugging it? No, Lag is Lamed Gimel. Lamed is 30, Gimel is 3. So Lag BaOmer means 33. This is the 33rd day of the Omer. Did everybody know that? Some people didn't. So it shows you that the Gematria kind of, the way that we use numbers and letters kind of got so mixed around that we don't even know. There's another holiday that we use that we just have a name for. It's called, Ellen Fogg has it right. I can see here. Tu B'Shvat. We don't spit on Shvat. Two is Tet Vav. Tet is 9, Vav is 6. And Tu B'Shvat is the 15th of Shvat. And there's a lot of stuff like that goes on in everyday use. Okay, so any thoughts, questions, comments?
Isn't today when in Israel they do a lot of bonfires?
Yes, it is.
Could I add one comment?
Sure.
In traditional Kabbalistic thinking, the letters of the Hebrew alphabet are considered to be co-eternal with God. That is, they have both God and the letters of the alphabet have existed for all eternity and will exist for all eternity. So there's a magical property to them. So this is what God used to create the Torah. The Torah also preceded creation. So before there could be a Torah, there had to be the letters. So these letters had this magical character all through Kabbalistic thinking, which, by the way, is about 2,000 years and still going strong.
I know that you have an interest in that, but is it really 2,000 years? Did they really not start much later?
No, I have a great many books in the subject. I'll be happy to lend them to you.
Okay.
Kabbalism is definitely a 2,000-year-old thing. What you're thinking about probably is the Zohar, which was actually created in the Middle Ages, but attributed to a rabbi of the Mishnah period.
Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai.
Yes. This is just, he must have known it because it's true. So we attribute it to this great rabbi who must have known everything. The author of the Zohar, or almost all of the Zohar, is just fell out of my head. Something Leon. In any case, this is late medieval Spanish.
Is it Luria?
Work. Yeah. So, but there really were earlier forms before the Zohar is not a recent, and it's not even an old version of Kabbalah. Kabbalah goes back way before that. So
Okay.
the academic books on the subject will all trace it back for about 2,000 years.
Okay, so this is the subject we were not going to talk about, but thanks for giving us some information on the subject. I really don't have much patience for that myself. So,
sorry, I've been doing a poor job of picking out people who wanted to speak.
yes.
Larry, disguised as Rochelle Monos, actually did the one thing you asked him to do, which was to raise his hand in the participants list. So I have a blue hand beside his name, but others have jumped in and displaced him. So I think we should give Larry the chance to say something if he still wishes to.
I was just going to ask about the idea that all of these ancient cultures are using letters for numerals interchangeably, like the same characters are used as letters and they're used as numerals. And that's what makes this whole discussion possible. We take for granted the Arabic numeral system, which is separate, using numbers that are not also letters. That was pretty late though, wasn't that? It was like around like 500 AD or something like that. Are there other places where they used numerals that were not numbers, as were not also letters? Does anybody know anything about that?
I don't know. Michael has his hand up.
Okay, Michael, let me.
Well, we know that the Romans used Roman numerals. This was not at all the same system as Gematria. This was, X for 10 and V for 5 and I for 1 and so on. So it was a completely unrelated system was used by the Romans 2,000 years ago.
Were those characters also used as letters by the Romans? I think they were, right? That V.
Yes, they were, but it was not the first letter is the first number, the second letter is the second number. They didn't use that at all. For the number 1, it was the letter I. For the number 2, it was I. For 3, it was I, and for 4 was IV. I think we all learned that back in school a long time ago.
We did, and it's not a base 10 or base 8 or base anything system.
It's not a base anything system, no.
It's not really.
The use of the
I think we need
subtraction,
to,
the
we
use
need
of
to
the
get back to Mayor's lecture, please.
Okay.
Okay, so we keep going now to going to give
the
examples.
use of the IV is much later.
Sorry. So now the first thing that I want to do before talking about how people use it is just give you a little, show you how to use it. So would like to share a screen here.
Okay, let
If
me,
you could you show that? I can show that too if you don't have.
does that, okay. Have I got it up yet?
No?
Okay. Can you see it?
Yeah, there we are.
That's my thing, but that's okay. Okay, so okay, so if you can see here, this is the Hebrew alphabet. The way the system works, maybe some of you know it. I'll go over it fairly quickly. If you go from Aleph till Yud, we go from 1, 2, 3 until 10. Okay, so it's very simple. Aleph is 1, Bet is 2, until you get to Yud, it's 10. When you get beyond 10, now you have to combine things. Because when you go to the next letter, Kaf is 20, Lamed is 30, and you keep going like that until you get to 100, which is Kuf, and then Resh, Shin, Taf gets you 200, 300, and 400. Now you have to use this mess in order to construct numbers. So for example, if you want to do number 11, you take Yud, which is 10, plus Aleph, and that's 11. 12 is Yud Bet. 13 is Yud Gimel. If you want to go to 25, it's Chaf is 20, Hey is 5. And by the way, it's customary to put a quotation mark between the last two letters to indicate that they're numbers. 37 is Lamed Zayin, 30 and 7. 48 and Mem Chet, 48. Okay. Now we get further out. You get to 14, 15, 16, 17. This would be Yud Dalet, Yud Hey, Yud Vav, and Yud Zayin. But guess what? We're Jewish. And we don't like to do Yud Hey or Yud Vav because it sounds like God's name. So instead of 15 making it Yud Hey, we call it Tet Vav. 9, 6 instead of 10, 5. And 16 becomes Tet Zayin instead of Yud Vav. That's why Tu Bishvat is Tu Bishvat, not Ya Bishvat. Cute. And now you get into big numbers, okay? If you get into big numbers, then you have to go back to the Kuf, Resh, Shin, Taf, the 100, 200, 300, and 400. Somebody is talking there in the background, and I don't know what it is. If they can stop it, it would be nice. So 101, Kuf is 100 plus 1. 324. Shin is 300, Chaf is 20, and then 4. 499, etc. I won't repeat all of them. Now we get into big numbers where you don't, if you have a 600, we don't have one letter representing 600. So you have to get Taf and Resh, 400 and 200 makes 600. And then Yud Gimel is, and this is a special number, by the way. You probably know, 613. It's called Taryag. It's kind of an acronym. And this is the number of mitzvot that we have. So it's Taryag mitzvot. We normally, anybody who is into learning and Chumash and such never says 613. It says that we have the Taryag mitzvot. And some more numbers, I'm not going to go over them. Now, what happens if you want to get really big numbers, like thousands? So now we have to have an innovation. We stick one of the kuf, we stick a number ahead. You know, I think this is wrong. Let's focus on the last two, the 5,000. This is like, if you look at today's dates, the year today in the Jewish calendar is 5,781. So 581 is easy. Taf, Shin, Pei Aleph is 581. But how do you say 5,000? We don't want to have like a string of 12 tafs. So if you take the fifth letter, Hey, with an apostrophe, that is understood to be 5,000. So Ha Tashpa, that's 5,781. And Ha Tashach is 5708. Do you know why that's significant, why I picked this date? Tafshin Chet?
Eric, do you want to?
Or Judy? Tafshin Chet? Anybody? That's the year that...
No, I was just going to say that I have a manuscript from around the year 1200.
Yeah.
And so the millennium has passed.
Yes.
And it doesn't have the prefix. It just says like the year 212. It's an old manuscript. It was only later when they started indicating with the hay in front or the vav in front. In the old manuscript I have, he just says the year 200, and you understand that he means the year 1200.
I think you're right, Eric, and this is even true today. In most calendars, in most conversation, if somebody refers to the Jewish year, they will not use the Hey. They'll say, you know, like Tashach, Tashpa. The Hey is understood, and you have 1,000 years to change it. But Tafshin Chet is when Israel was formed. So this is the year of independence, 72 years ago. Tafshin Chet. Okay, so that's.
Did you have your hand up, Judy? Okay, Miriam, you did.